Glad to be here once again this beautiful Saturday morning. Good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to yet another time. It's the weekend edition of the Break of Dawn newspaper review. I am OLUTAYO OGUNADE. Alright, so we review papers on the program. Of course, we do some analysis also, and you get a chance to also contribute on the program. All right, I have the papers here on the table. I have Premium Times, I have Daily Trust, I have the Guardian newspaper, Punch newspaper. I have also the Nation newspaper and one more paper. I'll try and reach that. I think Vanguard newspaper, of course, to read to you this morning. Let's start from Premium Times quickly. And from Premium Times, World Cup qualifiers, the NHL shoots Super Eagles to victory over Liberia. Lagos NSAS panel, how I spent 2 weeks in ICU after police shot me, petitioner. How Nigeria's power sector fared under former Minister Saleh Maman. Governors asked minister to reverse payment instruction for suspicious $418 million debts. Despite PIA proposed deregulation, Nigeria government to spend 900 million naira for subsidy in 2022. Afghanistan failed its security sector reform test. Somalia should take note. Anambra Appeal Court orders INEC to return Ozigbo as PDP candidate. EFCC declares Lekki new hub of internet fraud activities. Kaduna shows the way again with electronic voting for 2021 local government elections. Alright, still from Kaduna, insecurity. Kaduna government suspends weekly markets, bans livestock transportation. Constituency projects, NGO, anti-graft agencies highlight ways to ensure transparency, accountability in budgeting execution. COVID-19. 42 African countries may miss crucial September vaccination goal, WHO. And 5,890 terrorists surrender to Nigerian troops, defense headquarters. I go to Daily Trust, and my first line here from Daily Trust: fearless Afghan women march against Taliban. Marwa National Assembly members know they can't return home if they legalize cannabis. Okay, BUK releases cutoff marks for 2021-2022 session, scraps aptitude test. Gunmen break into Abuja home, abduct father and son. God brought us together. Kwankwaso speaks on recent encounter with Ganduje. Some more from Daily Trust. Ndume insurgents who surrendered will be useful to security agencies. Nollywood is a gold mine, but people don't know Charles Sunoje. Residents groan over governor's bitter appeal against banditry. Nigerian female artist attempts to feature on Drake's CLB. Nigerians react to American artist Essence remix. Okay, it's weekend. SEC records 9 billion naira deficits in 30 years, blames meltdown. Residents groan over governor's bitter appeal against banditry. I took that. Okay, militants fight back as Taliban moves to capture Afghanistan's last territory. We go to the Guardian newspaper. Ogun APC crisis. Abiodun Amosun inaugurates parallel world ESCO. Akume's corruption allegations against Otom laughable, says group. Ijo youth urge Buhari to sack Akpabio over NDDC audit report. CSO query 195 billion naira COVID-19 spending shortfall in 4 states. Secondos denies alleged refusal to pay party dues. Anambra Giba, appeal court declares Ozigbo PDP candidate. Tension as U.S. moves to name Boko Haram sponsors. Tension as U.S. moves to name Boko Haram sponsors. Let's have the names. Move to legalize cannabis is money versus life. Marwa wants. Okay, imposter syndrome is holding a lot of women back. That's still from the Guardian newspaper. Maomi, I sing without hiding my feelings. That's a Maomi there. Okay, like I said, the NHL's double strike sinks Liberia in Lagos. Let's go check out some more headline from politics. An Anambra poll of defections, abgas disorder, and power of incumbency. APC World Congress's party more divided in Delta, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa. Some more from the Guardian before I move to another paper. Okay, let's see this one here. It's on BB Niger. It's actually still. So away from that, we go to Punch newspaper. Social media rescue siblings who lost legs same day to motorcycle accident. Otom sues Akume for libel, demands 60 billion naira. Why I wanted to drop my father's name, Yulo Edoche. How doctors frustrated moves to avert strike, federal government. How doctors frustrated moves to avert strike, federal government. US-based Nigerian jailed for cyber fraud loses $561,000. Two Babas baby mama shuns Annie's infidelity claims. Okay, Yoruba nation agitators want fairness, concerned about insecurity. Oni of Ife, newlywed undergoes brain surgery after police torture remains unstable. How one chance bus landed me in kidnapper's den for 2 days. ICT expert. 2022 budget, no allocation for agencies without revenue projection, says Senate. And states consider no work, no pay may stop doctor salaries. Let me just quickly take a few headlines here from The Nation before we go on a commercial break. Itola's wife laments surge in street hawking, abortion by teenagers. Ekiti 2021, PDP begins sale of governor election forms the 13th of September. Lagos COVID-19 cases surpass 73,000. Okay. K1's performance at Bobrisky's birthday bash sparks outrage. African child. Lessons I learned from London rape scandal. Okay, Yana Chawobi win man of the match, MVP award, World Cup qualifier. Nigeria beats Liberia with the NHL double. We're going to commercial break now. I will be back.
FM
94.9.
8 times 500 naira, 4,000 naira. 8 times 5,000. Hi!
I beg. Where on they see this money?
Money care. Now the ogbonge bonus where they summer me as I buy new SIM card. See, then they give me double data subscription plus 8 times a woof anytime I recharge.
Oh boy, what's up for me now?
You know say you fit buy SIM card now for any accredited Airtel shop, ba? Just go there with your NIN, just like that.
Sure guy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Unbelievable, but true. Canada will issue over 1.2 million permanent visas between 2021 and 2023. Canada has incredible natural resources, most especially mineral resources, but less than 15% of those massive resources have been exploited. Reason? Canada's population is very small, less than 40 million compared to USA's 350 million and China's 1.6 billion, and these are countries with smaller land area than Canada. You can also take advantage of fantastic graduate and postgraduate education in beautiful Canada and prosper. There are well over 60 immigration programs to choose from. Let Jonathan King Limited take you through the simple process and relocate to Canada with members of your family. So take advantage and obtain your own form at Jonathan King Limited, 1st and 6th floors, Cocoa House, Ibadan. CMS Bookshop, Folagbade Street, beside the Cathedral of Our Savior, Ijebu-Ode.
Registration ends 28th of September 2021.
Egbògi kan ti délẹ̀ yìí, egbògi àtẹ̀jẹ̀ ṣe ni, ó dára fẹ̀jẹ̀ gidi gan. Veneto cleanser ló ń jẹ́ o. Veneto cleanser ló ń jẹ́ o.
Ojú rẹ̀ ṣàǹjọ̀lọ̀ lójoojúmọ́ kí làṣírí ẹ wà rí.
Veneton cleanser ni.
já mi sí ọ̀rẹ́.
Veneton cleanser egbòogi àtẹ́jẹ̀ṣe tí bádọ̀tí ara wọ̀ yá ìjà rẹ̀ wọ́n mọ́lẹ̀ ṣe wọ́n yẹbẹyẹbẹ. inú tó ń kú tó ń dàrú gbòdògbòdò kò bára rẹ̀ èrí inú ẹ̀jẹ̀. amọ̀nà ti dé o. Veneton cleanser egbòogi àtẹ́jẹ̀ṣe tí a fi ewé àti egbò ṣe ní ọ̀nà tìgbàlódé. NAFDAC fòǹtẹ̀lù MA1 Nigeria Limited ni wọ́n gbé Veneton cleanser jáde. a wà ní nọ́mbà 17 ọba akínyẹlé off Adeokun Street Aláàfin Avenue Olúyọ̀lé Estate Ring Road Ìbàdàn. Telephone 08034051533 fún títà àti rírà. ìwọ náà darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Veneton cleanser àmọ̀tẹ́kùn egbòogi tí ya gbogbo kòkòrò inú ẹ̀jẹ̀ wẹ́lẹ́wẹ́lẹ́.
32 FM 94.9.
Welcome back. 32 FM 94.9. Your Fenya station is right here live. And the program is the Break of Dawn newspaper review. I am OLUTAYO, OGUNADE. We go straight now to the analysis of the headlines I took earlier. In a bit, Austin Edumo will join me on the program. So I go to the Punch newspaper and I take my very first headline. Okay, Austin is here. Good morning to you, Austin Edumo.
Yeah, good morning, Tayo.
Great to have you join me on the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Good. From Punch newspaper, states consider no work, no pay may stop doctors' salaries. Striking resident doctors have called the federal government's bluff for invoking the no work, no pay policy by stopping their salaries. However, there were indications that states across the country might also adopt the federal government policy by equally denying the protesting doctors their salaries. Dear listener, we're live on Facebook, 32FM 949. But don't go drop your comments there. Austin Edumo, no work, no pay for doctors.
Yes, I think the situation is getting messier. We are now having a situation where states are also threatening that doctors will not be paid because they have not been able to work. I think we are leaving the crux of the matter as far as this whole issue is concerned. What can we do to resolve the issue amicably so that the needless and avoidable deaths that Nigerians are dying almost on a daily basis will have to stop? Because this looks like a case of two elephants fighting. At the end of the day, it is the grass that will suffer. Whether we like it or not, these doctors at the long run will still be paid. I find it so absurd that up till now, we can't find a resolution to this issue. It's not a battle of ego. It should be, at the end of the day, what is right in this context. So for me, after that particular court judgment, I think what the federal government did and what it also got wrong was that they celebrated the court judgment, that the implication of that judgment was that the doctors should call off their strike. Of course, if we talk about status quo and suspension of every form of hostility, it shows that we should go back to where we were even before the strike. And the position of going back to where we started from was that doctors should go back to work and government should honor their agreement. But we are not even talking about honoring such agreement now. We are talking about invoking sections of the law to be able to tackle them. Then at the end of the day, who suffer and bears the brunt? So these are the issue. Must we always get to a level where cases such as critical cases that borders on the health sector and the health of the people will be so bastardized and degenerate to this level? So government should always look for a way to resolve whatever crisis that it finds itself. I also learned in another report this morning that the Minister of Labour has said that it was doctor who frustrated the move to settle this issue and avert the strike. What have you been able to do? Of course, in terms of meeting such an agreement, this was not first-time agreement, but these people have complained. which has to do with specific in such areas that their salaries are not being paid as far as about 5 months.
But
some of their members.
Austin, don't you think the usefulness, of the whole thing now is lost on the population who are suffering from the brunt of two elephants fighting now?
That is the implication. I don't know at every point in time when labor union will be adamant and government too will also be a dagger drawn. Because, like I said earlier, whatever government is set out to do, the people should be at the center of every government policy's position and procedure. That is how it should be. Let's look at the overall interests of the common man as far as all of this is concerned. Look at private hospitals today. They are charging exorbitantly. It is not even every Nigerian that can afford a private clinic, even as we speak now. So must we always fight to finish, even as a government and as a people? If this labor movement has said, oh, this is what we are going to have, the government, yesterday you promised us this. Today you are shifting the goalposts. A lot of cases are pending, even as I speak to you now. A lot of Nigerians are passing through crisis situation as a result of all of this. Because the hope of some people are basically on government hospital. Because to a reasonable extent, that is what they can still afford. So I appeal to the striking doctors to give peace a chance. Because at the end of the day, it is the common man that suffers. And I also appeal to the government too, not to fight to finish. As a government, you cannot fight to finish. That's the truth of the matter. You display purposeful leadership by ensuring that every gray areas are ironed out. I'm surprised that the case is still lingering because it's over 2 weeks now that the president returned to the country and said the issue should be dealt with holistically.
It's looking like the federal government, does not even feel the impact of the Nigerian doctor strike. Maybe because they do not patronize them, as it were.
That's the issue. I think the bottom line majorly should be that in the years ahead, and I pray that someday we'll get there, that public office holders will attend and access public institutions in Nigeria. A case of the health sector as an example. So for me, if they know that all of us will fall back to these hospitals at the end of the day, they will not neglect this hospital because it is not every Nigeria that has the financial capacity to seek medical help, even private medical help in the country.
There was a time that Mr. President spoke about medical tourism, and we thought that, hey, maybe now there is respite. Okay, doesn't mean that we'll need to maybe promulgate a law now or put a law in place to checkmate those in public offices from getting medical attention from abroad. Maybe if we are all restricted here and we know that this is the only place we can get medical help, then we'll fix it. That will ensure that things like this does not go on and on and on. Go to hospitals and see people lying on floors, people not being properly attended to because of the strike, people not even getting the attention that they need, as and when necessary. How do we go from here and find a sustainable, lasting solution to it?
Yeah, the lasting solution, like we said, is that we need courage to be able to put this in place. Even if you to take a piece of legislation to confine every public office holder to accessing medical facility or public institutions in the country, education and health most especially, I think at the end of the day, if we do that, we'll be able to build our infrastructure in the country. The president, as it were, cannot stop medical tourism because he happens to be a chief tourist as far as seeking medical intervention abroad is concerned. Of course, as a private citizen, a businessman, for example, you have the money, you can take your child out of the country for education or even seek medical intervention outside the country. But once you become a public office holder, you must have faith in public institutions in the country. How can you preside over the affairs of the public and at every little beck and call, you travel out of the country for medical intervention or you send your children out of the country? So you will not feel the impact, you will not feel the pain of what your citizens are feeling. So let us put a lasting solution to this issue. Let the federal government be magnanimous enough let's leave no work, no pay, because it has really not worked in Nigeria.
All right.
The days of ASU strike, government will tell us no work, no pay. And at the end of the day, these people will get paid. Last year, ASU went on strike for about 10 months or thereabout. They were still paid. It was the student and their parents that fed the pain. So we must resolve this issue somehow, anyhow, as a matter of urgency.
I know a particular sector where such a strike will not be allowed to go on, in this manner. Try the aviation sector, because they will need to fly out of the country. They will fix it immediately, But let's move on, Austin Udumo. Let's look at this particular one story from Daily Trust, and I can see the face of Ndume here. Insurgents who surrendered will be useful to security agencies. Senator Ali Ndume says repentant insurgents will be useful to security agencies. He said this while responding to questions from State House reporters after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. According to him, the surrendered insurgents will be useful to the security agencies through the provision of needed information that can lead to the end of the insurgency in the Northeast.
It is neither here nor there. Udume has come out in the past to vehemently criticize this particular move of the government. Udume is also noted for most of the time making contradictory statements. Nobody is saying that reality is a bad thing. Of course, like the picture he painted, there are two case scenarios. They can serve or give useful information to security agency to be able to defeat the insurgent. On the flip side, they could also serve as informants to those who are still currently fighting to continue to wage war against the states, of which Ndume in the time past has criticized that he made mention of a particular insurgent, a particular terrorist who came out, was rehabilitated back, and at the end of the day, he had to kill his father and kill some people within his immediate environment. Why? Because he was allowed to be reintegrated back into the society. How do you then reintegrate surrendered insurgents when the war is still ongoing? I think the process of rehabilitation and reintegration oftentimes happens at the end of any war. So the idea of trying to forcefully and aggressively rehabilitate some people, even in the middle of the battle, is uncalled for. Nobody is saying that the situation cannot happen at all. But why don't we put our priority on the eternally displaced people who have not been rehabilitated back to their community?
But Austin, can you please explain this to us? You find out from what they tell us, Boko Haram repentant, in quotes, repentant Boko Haram members are surrendering, but bandits are still killing people and kidnapping people, demanding ransom and fomenting trouble in the country. How do you make sense of this?
Yes, what it simply means is that banditry can also continue for now. By the time they fight, kill people, abduct people, collect as much ransom as possible, tomorrow they can make a U-turn and say, oh, we have repented. And Nigerian government in their magnanimity will absorb them back into the society, train them, give them vocational education, or possibly take them out of the country for education. This is a case that is also fueling acts of terrorism, the insurgency and banditry across the country. We must not do anything to promote acts of criminality. Let us deal with this issue the way they are. It's now looking more like a case of the North versus the South. The North want them rehabilitated. It looks as if the South do not want them rehabilitated. Let us look at it vis-a-vis what we have suffered in the hands of these people. There are still some communities, especially in Borno North, that have been displaced over the years. This community have not been able to go back to their place of residence, to their ancestral home. Of course, Babagana Zulum, the governor of Borno State, has tried so seriously to ensure that people are rehabilitated. he built these communities and ensured that he resettled them. As much as he's trying to do that, the insurgents are battling again to recapture some of these areas. And we as a government and as a people, we are so interested and keen in rehabilitating people. So we must be very careful so that it will not be counterproductive. So the excuse or the information given by Ali Odume, in my own view, it is sentimental and parochial in nature, because you don't just look at it from a narrow-minded angle. You have to put everything on the table and weigh the option. Some people have suffered a lot of fatality as a result of act of terrorism in the country. And all we are doing is just to say, oh, some people have confessed. They said they have repented. So we must absorb them back into the society as a matter of priority. No, it will definitely be counterproductive. What do you do to people who have lost their life? What do you do to soldiers who have lost their life in line of duty as far as this act of terrorism is concerned? So the government, we have to be careful. Like I've always said, nobody is saying that a point of rehabilitation cannot come in the process.
All right.
But we are saying that the methodology of the government is a little bit faulty. The urgency and the priority given to rehabilitation of this insurgent is suspicious to a large extent.
All right,
why don't we beam our satellite on those who are at the IDP camp, languishing in pain and malnutrition and some other vices within the IDP camp?
Now,
why don't we try as much as possible to reduce the number of internally displaced people first before we now extend our priority?
A friend
yes, I'm with you.
Sorry to butt in. A friend shared a video with me recently, some insurgents in the forest, and with serious weapons, very sophisticated weapons, carrying and shooting, and they all look excited. And they had camo, the military camo. They use it to sewn in very funny, like using to sew. Like I won't call it jalamia, but something very funny, not the usual fatigue that you see on any soldier or any police. And I mean, they did not even hide their faces. And these videos are flying about. We see them carrying serious, highly sophisticated weapons, shooting, and we see all these videos trending. And are we saying we cannot get these guys? They do not hide their faces, like I said. How, I don't know, Austin, I don't even know what to say.
Yes, we can actually get them. I think what is lacking or missing is the willpower.
The manpower?
They don't live in this. They don't live in the blues. So I believe so much that we can track them. It depends on whether the government is willing to win this war. So this bandit now have desecrated the Nigerian armed forces. They have made mockery of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They have lost their right to live, as far as I'm concerned. So we must, of course, if they repent, we are not supposed to summarily execute them. Of course, we have to look at the issues too. The issue of justice will have to prevail as far as this issue is concerned. So for me, the idea of what the infantry that the bandits, the terrorists that is referred to as bandits, ask now is that, they can continue to do this their business because Nigeria has a large heart. Tomorrow when they make you turn and claim to repent, they will be forgiven and given a presidential welcome. That is the level we find ourselves. We are promoting acts of criminality in the country. And if we say that at times there could be official connivance, you see, people will begin to wonder and say, don't talk about that again. Recently, we had an interview where a former senior military officer came out to say that even there are some people that were investigated for acts of terrorism that are presently constituted this government. That is another issue for another day. So the government had to look at every option, weigh it properly, because if care is not taken, the problem we are trying to solve, we are most likely going to get a bigger problem at the end of the day. If we pardon such people, hurriedly integrate them back into the country, you will see some people who have to take up arms because they see that it looks like a business that is lucrative. The government must do everything within its power to discourage people from taking to crime. Let us encourage these people to surrender their weapon and lay down their hands.
All right, so
but the idea of hurriedly integrating them back into the society, we need to look into that very critically.
We are live on Facebook, 32FM 949 Ibadan. Also live on YouTube, 32FM 949 Ibadan. Wale Anishilowo says, I think if the government is really concerned with the welfare of the people, they should negotiate with the doctors. And Nigeria is a country where we jail soldiers who demand for better equipment and better welfare in the name of mutiny, but happily rebrand terrorists as repentant fighters in the name of amnesty. A senator even sponsored a bill that will enable the monsters to enjoy foreign education, while their victims in IDPs are now picking grains from the market to eat. This is from Babatunde Michael Alexander. Thank you. I got your messages on Facebook. Go there, go drop your own message or question, as the case may be. Also, let's move away from insurgency and all. EFCC on Friday declared Lekki, an upper middle-class area of Lagos State, as an emergency hub of internet fraud in the country. The commission said in a statement that operatives carried out a total of 402 internet-related fraud arrests in the area between April and June 2021 alone.
Yes, it's becoming reoccurring. I think Lekki is becoming more notorious as far as the activity of internet fraudster is concerned. What they live now, even in areas like Ibadan, the tactics some of them have evolved is to, when they get huge sums of money, they relocate to a very choicy and exclusive estate where they know that the security is a little bit superb, where nobody can just come and raid them just anyhow. I think about 2 weeks ago, the EFCC also carried out a kind of operation in Lekki, where about 3 guys were nabbed with property recovered over 300 million worth of property, including houses. So that is their new tactics. We must continue to hunt these guys and ensure that we serve justice on them. If we talk about hard work and youth innovation, we should also look at these guys who are bringing disrepute to Nigerians and also discouraging the young ones to take to hard work. The government must also leverage on this, because when you have the larger percentage of your youth population idle and unemployed, the tendency to take to cybercrime is very high.
Most of those arrested at Lekki, they are between the age of 25 and 34 years.
Yes, it will continue to happen, except apart from arresting them, which is giving the security operative a Herculean task to do, the government can also put measures in place. Everybody cannot take to cybercrime. Those who are willing and able-bodied, who are ready to work, job must be provided for them. The government might not be able to employ everyone, but let us create an atmosphere, an enabling environment. By the time you have your youthful population going into cybercrime, it shows that something is wrong with the country. So for me, let us deal with this issue the way it is. Then apart from arresting them, what can we also do? Are we also jailing them? Because we have seen officials of government who will bust these guys, arrest them, and at the end of the day, that will be the last thing you will hear. Some of this property recovered will be taken over by cronies, by operatives. I'm not saying that that is always the case, but I know what I'm saying. So apart from arresting them, letting us know on the pages of newspaper, of course, we say kudos to them. At the end of the day, what happens? Because the cases we have witnessed in some areas is that they take whatever belongs to them, and that will be all. The essence of arrest, in my view, should be a bit to serve justice, so that could serve as deterrent. But if you just arrest them, take their property away, take their money away, not even recover for government to tell you, I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Not even recovering these properties or confiscating them for government, but recovering them and converting them to personal use of officials. That should stop. However, it's a good job. Let's continue to bust them in highbrow estates. That is where they live now. The big ones among them, not the roadside Yahoo boys. The real big ones among them. They live in exclusive estate because they know that such an estate is a little bit protected. Security operative cannot just come except they have adequate information, and they need to take permit from the estate before they can operate. So it's a welcome development. Let's continue to stamp it out and let government also create an enabling environment. It is not every Nigerian youth that can take to crime, but those who are willing to work, let us also ensure that we do something meaningful that will make them to be gainfully engaged. Then, apart from all of this, these guys are very good in tech. How do we harness this potential?
That is what we should be talking about.
Yes, at times these bank hackers, people who hack into accounts. I was listening to one yesterday. He said once they get hold of your alert number, they will use it to buy cards. When they buy card, it will send alerts to them. Once they receive the alerts, they can actually get your account number from there, and they start wiring your money. And when you ask them, which level of education did you have, they will tell you primary 6. Some of them will tell you JSS2. So they are not even graduates, and they are this good in terms of ICT. So how do we harness that potential? How do we harness the tech potential?
Life simply abhors a vacuum. All right. So if we have refused to exploit and explore and harness whatever skill and talent and competence they have, this may happen. So it could also be a failure on the part of our leaders.
Yes, it's a failure on the part of our leaders. I completely agree. So we must begin to look, apart from busting them, we must continue to look in that direction.
Thank you.
Because if you find people who are that good technologically, we must harness the potential.
Thank you for sharing your morning, Austin Udumo.
Thank you.
Just hang on. Let's go on a commercial break now. When we return, we take some calls, and of course, we can also look at the questions together before we leave the studio. We're going to commercial break now. We will be back.
94.9. Some people have that special phone number. Sometimes it's the first number you ever had. Or that number that rhymes with your birthday. Or the number that your first girlfriend, Titi, gifted you. Now, imagine having that number taken away from you and giving to someone else, all because your line was inactive.
Oh, no.
Oh, my. Such painful stuff. But guess what? With Glow Always On, that won't happen, because for just 500 Naira, you stay connected to the Glow network, even if your SIM is inactive. Now you can really rest easy and never worry about any of that, because Glow Always On will keep your phone number for you. Just dial *777# and select Always On to subscribe.
Orílẹ̀-èdè Canada ó fún èèyàn tó lé ní mílíọ̀nù kan ní ìwé ọmọ onílẹ̀ láàrin ọdún 2021 sí 2023. Kò jẹ́jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ lórí. Orílẹ̀-èdè Canada yóò fún àwọn ènìyàn tó ń lé ní mílíọ̀nù kan ní ìwé ọmọ onílẹ̀ láàrin ọdún 2021 sí 2023. Ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ ohun àlùmọ́nì ilẹ̀ ló sodo sí orílẹ̀-èdè Canada. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ìbá díẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti ìṣàmúlò rẹ̀ láàrin ẹgbàágbèje ohun àlùmọ́nì ọ̀hún. èyí rí bẹ́ẹ̀ látàrí ọ̀wọ́n ènìyàn tó ń bá orílẹ̀-èdè náà fínra bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé Canada ní orílẹ̀-èdè kejì tó ní ilẹ̀ jùlọ lágbàáyé ṣùgbọ́n ìwọ̀nba ènìyàn ni wọ́n ń gbé ní orílẹ̀-èdè náà onírúurú ètò láti rìnrìn àjò sí orílẹ̀-èdè Canada ló ti wà nílẹ̀ ìwọ náà lè lo àǹfààní ètò àti kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kó o sì máa ṣiṣẹ́ aṣáájú agbanímọ̀ràn bí a ti ń rìnrìn àjò káàkiri àgbáyé ní Jonathan King Limited kan sí wọn wọn fọ̀nà hàn.
gba fọ́ọ̀mù tiẹ̀ lónìí ní Jonathan King Limited ajá kínní àti ìkẹfà Cocoa House Ìbàdàn àti ní the Bronx Bookshop lẹ́bàá Saviour Cathedral níjẹ̀bú òde 20 oṣù kẹsàn-án 28th of September ní ìforúkọsílẹ̀ yìí ó wà sópin o.
The task of nation building must not be left to politicians. The people must play their roles. They must vote. They monitor governance. They must insist on good governance. And yes, political talk on radio just got better in Ibadan and the Southwest as 32 FM presents The Podium. The Podium will feature unraveling interviews, incisive analysis of political events, and exclusive reports of developments in the political circles. Every Saturday at 9 a.m., the microphone will be with the guests in the studio as it will be with you too. The Podium, the platform created for every citizen to have a voice.
Thank you for staying tuned. Precedent newspaper review. We go to the phone lines now to take your calls. Let's do it 30 seconds, per caller, so we can maximize the time. We have just about 5 minutes to the end of the program. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Good
morning.
Good morning. This is Sheldon from here. I know I don't hear you. Criminals are criminals. Whether cyber crimes, officers, whether Boko Haram, whether bandits, whether people that destroy our pipeline. They should not be giving amnesty. They should face justice.
All right.
They have killed people. They have destroyed economy. We don't need to integrate any of them. They should face justice, whether repent or no repent. We are wasting our money.
Thank you. Integrating surrendered bandits to the society hurriedly without being tried in the temple of justice is like sitting on the keg of gunpowder. Tope Alabi from Akobo. Thank you. Are they not the same youths that gathered at Lekki toll gate during NSAS protest? Most of our youths are worse than those rolling us today. This is from Olawole Konfash on Facebook. 009 7949 0705 5949. Hello.
Hello.
Alaji, go on.
Tayo.
Yes, please.
Alaji Asala from Kokura.
30 seconds. Good.
Yeah. You see, I told the line of Austin that it is the failure of the government that makes all those primary six or DSS students led them to cyber crime. But in addition, it is the fault of the parents too. Parents should have the capacity to send their words up to DSS. I think government is doing that. But why did they allow their words? And in Japan, something happened some time ago. Somebody went travel to Japan. He came back and answered the story. You know, we have this public phone before. The card they are using there from their own IT. There are some Indians and Bangladesh citizens. They do the fake of that card, and it is working.
All right. Thank you, Alaji. That was a long one from you. Regarding the issue of no work, no pay of resident doctors by the government, that is why we are clamoring for the restructuring of the old and bad structure that we have now. Let government do the needful in terms of salary structure. The truth of the matter is our salary structure is not good. Okay, Alaji spoke about the family unit, which is key also. It is the smallest unit of any society. Once we lose it from there, we're not likely to have a proper society.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
This is Kola.
All right, Kola, let's do it
quickly. I want to speak on the issue of country rehabilitation. Okay. I think I've said it several times. During the Civil War, the federal government rehabilitated the Biafra soldiers and they put them into the city. People have knowledge of military. They should leave military pays for the military people. They know how to do their job.
Caller.
And they did it for the Igbo people. Why don't they do it for the people too?
Hello, caller. Caller, are you there? Oh, okay. He left the call. It's okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
This is Michael calling from Malacca.
All right, go on, Michael.
Terrorists are in the presidential villa, government houses, and innocent ones are in the IDP camp, languishing in poverty. That is good governance that we are praying for.
All right, 009-7000-9491. One more call before I leave the studio. I can see your comment here also. Alabi Kendi, thank you. And Leye, thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm John.
All right, John.
I call from Ibadan. Somebody is comparing Biafran soldiers.
I was going to ask the caller.
Just imagine how we think. See the kind of knowledge we have. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry to this nation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And it's going to be my very last caller on the program this morning. We have a sponsor program in another 10 minutes. And by 7, please join Temladia Loco on Baba Fendo. At 8 o'clock, join the Sporting Crystal. That's Abimbola Lamid on Sowidowu. And at 9 o'clock will be time for the podium with Ezekiah Akrinde. We just brought this beautiful change to our schedule for Saturday. Thank you, and do not leave the dial. It's 32 FM 94.9. I am Olutayo Ogunade. Good morning.
Here is the station admired by other radio stations.
Yes, we are.
32 FM 94.9.